police, local, state. I am in awe of what you are doing and all those who are manning or at command centers right now. I'm grateful. I'm reminded of a battle, a similar battle, it seemed, back in 1994, the Battle of Bastogne. And at the time, the 104th were surrounded by Nazis on this Christmas morning, and they were told to surrender. And they said, "We will not surrender." And they fought on to victory as part of the Battle of the Bulge. We are in a war. This is a war with Mother Nature. And she has been hitting us with everything she has since the late hours of Thursday into Friday, Saturday, and now on Christmas morning. And this will go down in history as the most devastating storm in Buffalo's long storied history of having battled many battles, many major storms. I have lived through most of them. I'm a Buffalonian, and all of us think in historic and epic terms, but this one is for the ages, and we're still in the middle of it. We still have people who need to be rescued. We have people with their power off in our communities, and buildings where pipes are bursting and flooding is occurring, as is happening in my own home right now. So this is what's happening in real time. It is a devastating experience. I cannot overstate how dangerous the conditions still are. We need people to stay off the roads. Yes, one more day. I know it's Christmas. I know how hard it is. You came off of a couple of years of being separated during the pandemic. It's heartbreaking. But to keep you safe, and to all those who have left the security of their homes to help you keep safe, we need your cooperation. Just hang in there one more day. We will persevere. We will battle this out to the bitter end, and we are not going anywhere. And I'm grateful to have partners like County Executive Mark Polenkars, who has been working around the clock tirelessly for him and his team, all the work they've been doing. Mayor Byron Brown also on the front lines of this, all your members of your Army in the city of Buffalo, and also our state police, our DOT workers, our thruway authority workers, our plow drivers everywhere, and those who are literally helping people be saved by bringing heat to nursing homes and senior centers. So that is what is on the ground right now. There has been a confirmed loss of life of 7 individuals. It is my extreme fear that this is going to rise. We anticipate that there are some individuals will be loss of life, whether it's freezing in homes or in vehicles that are still stranded. We have rescued hundreds and hundreds of people out of their cars, snow plows having to go, the only vehicle that could get through the blinding snowstorm and knock on windows and bring people to safety. That has been going on since the duration of this event. But there are some that are still trying to be found. In a blinding snowstorm, a vehicle goes off the road into a ditch, you cannot always find it immediately. So we're doing all we can do with GPS and other mechanisms to try and find everybody and hopefully bring them home safely. So this is happening in real time. It is not over. And we've been in contact with the White House. I just spoke again with Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Senator Gillibrand. We've been in constant communication with both their offices. They will support our request for a federal disaster declaration to assist with the resources for part of this cleanup. That's for tomorrow. Right now, we're still dealing with this this colossal snowstorm. There is no other way to describe it. The winds have almost hit 80 miles an hour. That is a record. The longevity of this storm, the longest blizzard in our history. We think back, those who have been following weather for a long time, the blizzard of 77 was the one that everyone referenced, the blizzard of 77. I had a t-shirt that said I survived the blizzard of 77. I'll be having a t-shirt made for this year for all the survivors and the people who battled through the blizzard of 2022. So that's the caliber of what we're dealing with right now. Our National Guard, we have deployed them, but you can imagine even when you want to bring in the reinforcements, bring in the Army, help with this battle, that they can get stuck as well. We had vehicles that were stuck in snow. They were detained, but now we'll have over 200 on the ground right now. I'm bringing another 200 in that'll be deployed. So we'll have over 400 on the ground by tomorrow, but certainly 200 on the ground right now. They are assisting with medical missions, helping doctors and nurses get to the hospitals, helping get people out of vehicles, helping reinforce the areas where people are exhausted and have to go home. The people who've been on the front lines from the very beginning. So the cavalry has arrived. They're here to help, and we'll continue this effort through the rest of the weekend. As we mentioned, this is the longest sustained blizzard conditions in the city of Buffalo. Snow totals are not as high as we had literally 5 weeks ago when we broke records once again. Again, how many times can you break a record in Buffalo? But we did it again with the caliber of this blizzard. But even 5 weeks ago, we were dealing with record amounts of snow. We do not have the record amounts of snow. On average, is about 30 inches. But when that 30 inches blows and blows and blows nonstop, then you get drifts. You cannot see around the drifts. That's why driving is still dangerous. People need to stay home until this has abated. So the snow has stopped right now. Power is still out in many areas. We have over 39,000 households out without power across the state. 27,000 of those are in Erie County. We are coming at them. And here's the challenge. The crews are here. We saw this storm coming. We had over 7,000 people, far more than we've ever had before, all ready to restore power so we can get heat back in people's homes. What has happened, though? We've cleared paths to get to substations, and that was a Herculean effort to get people to the substations in the first place. And you arrive and you realize there's structural damage. It's not just turning on a switch or putting up one wire. And with the high winds, you can't get the lift trucks up there to restore the higher lines. So that has been the complication with utilities. So it's not a resource challenge. It is a storm challenge where they have kept our men and women from doing their jobs, which is enormously frustrating. First of all, for them, for the people who are waiting for heat, and certainly for us, but that is something we're continuing to break through. Our state police launched a strike team last night. As soon as there was a break in the weather, starting at midnight, we are all ready to go into high impact areas, the ones that needed the most help, where the stranded vehicles were, some of the nursing homes and senior facilities that were without power. And I want to thank Superintendent Steve Nigrelli and everyone who's part of the state police force for all they did to just literally go into harm's way to try and clear the snow, restore some heat, and hopefully restore some sanity to what is otherwise a very, very frightening circumstance. Again, I was a mother growing up in Buffalo with little children. I know how frightening it is when you're home alone with just the kids. The power is out. It's cold. The food is not there. So we are working also to bring emergency provisions to people. We have warming centers stood up. We want to transport people there so they can get food and a warm meal for their kids if they're still stuck without power. Power sometimes is off, restored. Now it's off again, and that's what's happening even in my own building. So we're living through this in real time. There are still more challenges out there, but I want to just turn it over to one more check we're doing is our Commissioner of Civil Service, Tim Hogues, who is an Erie County resident. So he came back to help manage this storm. He is making sure that all the social service organizations are stepping up and providing all the assistance they need, coordinating with the Red Cross, our agencies that are involved on the ground as well. So we're going to keep standing up those warming centers with the county. The county, again, is doing a phenomenal job. I commend County Executive Poland Cars, as well as Mayor Byron Brown, because we're still in this together. My next report will be with the county executive in Buffalo, and we'll be managing the rest of the storm from there. And I have my team who's been on this 24 hours a day since this started Thursday night, and I want to thank them. Let's turn it over to Commissioner Jackie Bray for an update of what's happening on the ground.
Thank you, ma'am. So I want to do two things. The first is I want to reiterate some safety messaging. As the governor said, the conditions in the Buffalo area remain treacherous and remain dangerous. It is bitterly cold, and while the winds have died down at this point, it is still far too cold to be outside. So the most important thing is to stay inside. If you are without power, it is safer inside than outside. You want to wear loose fitting clothing, lots of layers. You want to cover every part of you, including your cheeks and your nose and your mouth. You want to stay, if you have multiple people in your household, stay in one room but huddle together to maintain warmth. We know that people are too cold. We know that it's dangerous. We are doing everything we can to get power restored to the about 15-16% of city residents without power at this time. If you are in a vehicle, stay in your vehicle. If you can, put some bright colored fabric on the outside of the vehicle so that you are more noticeable to our search and rescue crews, do that. If you still have fuel, run your car about 10 minutes every hour to stay warm. In addition to the information the governor shared, the state has been deploying food, water, cots, and blankets across both Erie and Genesee County over the last 24 hours to assist with warming shelters. That's included over 2,200 MREs and a similar amount of drinking water. Commissioner Dominguez is going to talk about road conditions and the Department of Transportation and Thruway assets. But in addition to the state police, we have the Department of Environmental Conservation, the Parks Department, and State Fire, who are also, and the Department of Corrections, who have been deploying search and rescue teams for the last about 30 hours. As the governor said, they have made, at this point, over 500 saves and moved hundreds more into warming shelters. So that work will continue through the day, along with our attempts to get National Grid and NYSEG access to their substations so that power can be restored. My final point, in some towns, it's going to look like you can go outside today and start digging yourself out. We know that that can cause cardiac arrests, and first response is still very slow. So we are asking folks to be very careful as you start digging your own homes out, to take it slow, take lots of rest, stay hydrated, to avoid any cardiac issues in shoveling or snowballing. With that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Marie-Therese Dominguez. Commissioner?
Commissioner, your line is open. Please unmute. While we wait for Commissioner Dominguez.
Good morning.
Oh, excuse me. Go ahead, Commissioner.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you. Apologies for the technical difficulties here. Commissioner Bray, Governor, thank you very much. This storm has not been easy. In fact, it's been extremely challenging in terms of the operating environment. With whiteout conditions and no visibility lasting for hours the last few days. Our plow drivers are what I consider the best of the best, but there have been times over the last few days that with gusting winds that were so strong and visibility concerns, we literally, along with our colleagues in the county and the city, have had life safety concerns for our plow drivers. That said, we've all seen and heard of examples of literally hundreds of vehicles that have been stranded across Western New York. But we've been working around the clock to make sure that all of those people are not only checked on, but as the governor noted, are brought to safety. And we've made huge progress along those lines with our partners at State Police, Thruway, and others. Last month, Governor, we spent days together in Buffalo through the course of this generational storm, and on Christmas morning now in 2022, the Buffalo area in particular is seeing a second generational storm. In terms of operations, DOT is working 24/7 around the clock, and we're making progress. We've deployed extra resources, as you noted, in advance of the storm. And we've deployed even more resources over the course of the last 48 hours. So the first wave, we brought in an additional 65 additional staff, 10 additional plow trucks and snow blowers and graders all into Western New York. Now we've also deployed additional resources, including plows and trucks and everything up into the North Country as well. They've also seen record amounts of snow. In this second wave of deployments, we've also brought in additional mechanics as well as additional loaders and bulldozers from our emergency contractors who are assisting us both with the search and rescue missions, which you mentioned, Governor, that we're partnering with the state police on. Those missions are going well. We're tag teaming with state police to utilize not only plow trucks, but also any kind of high lifts to make sure that we're able to get not only critical equipment, but also get to people that are maybe stranded in their cars. We've also dispatched, just in terms of equipment, we've also seen some hard-hit areas of the Finger Lakes. So we've got plow operators and snow blowers also working in a strike force manner to make sure that we're getting to any motorists that may have been stranded, but also clearing the roads. The bottom line is that we've been working 24/7 around the clock. The conditions have been dangerous, but we're at it. All of our forces are out in force. Overnight, we were, again, able to assist the state police along with the Thruway Authority and others, making sure that National Grid and others could get to their substations and help restore the power. With that, I want to keep in mind that we do have road closures in the area. Those include routes 5, 400, 219, 290, and the 190. So the Buffalo Skyway, of course, is closed. We're going to keep all of these road closures in place to make sure that we have plenty of time to make sure the roads are clear and passable. We're going to continue to work with the city police to clear Route 33 of the vehicles so that we can start to get in there and plow and force. But I want to thank, first and foremost, all of our partners across the city, the county, all of our partners in the state. But a special thank you to all the men and women at the New York State DOT who are working 24/7 through the Christmas holiday. The bottom line is we all recognize this is a life safety concern, and everybody's doing their darndest around the clock to make sure that we address all of the elements of this storm. We're going to keep fighting for the good fight here. And with that, Governor, I'll turn it back to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't know if Superintendent Nigrelli is able to get to us. I know he's out in the heat of battle right now, but if Superintendent Nigrelli.
Superintendent, if you could unmute yourself, your line is open.
Governor, this is Steve Nigrelli. I'm on, and thank you for the opportunity. Just to review the last, 36 to 48 hours or even more, that the response you're seeing is due to planning and preparation. The assets that we brought into, and not just the state police, but all our state partners into Western New York in advance of the storm was critically important. We had the resources here with our partners from National Guard, state government. We were prepared and staged. Unfortunately, Mother Nature made it so prohibitive for us to get out there. The visibility became a life safety issue for not only the motorists and the residents, but also your first responders. But with that, last night, we planned a strategic mission utilizing a strike force mentality comprised of our DOT thruway partners, our DPW county partners, to actually plow pathways for us in law enforcement with our partners from the utilities. We prioritized two missions, Governor. One was to get to the utility facilities to try to get power back on. The second was to start clearing these roads so we can check on disabled vehicles. This mission is ongoing. We've had some successes in the utility aspect of this. We'll continue on working with, this is all hands on deck from the city government, from Buffalo PD, Buffalo Fire, and DPW, through the county, and every state agency, along with our partners from the National Guard. We have one mission, and that's one mission only, and that's life safety. And it may say December 25th on your calendar, but that does not matter to us. We are here, committed to serving and protecting the public as best we can. And again, it's been challenging. I'm a Buffalo resident. I've lived here all my life. I lived through the '77 blizzard, and this has been epic proportions. And hopefully we are seeing an end in the near future. The one safety precaution I will give my fellow Buffalo residents is we may see some clear skies right now, but that does not mean you should go out of your house. I know it's important to see your families on this holiday, but it is treacherous, and the last thing we want to do is have you get stuck as well and harm come to you or to the first responders coming to save you. It may look clear out there, but trust me on this. Stay in your home. Stay where it's safe. Do not go on the road. Let us do our jobs to help you. Thank you very much, Governor. And thank you for all our partners, especially our partners here in in Western New York, the state police, the sheriffs, Buffalo police, all our partners in state government. It's one team, one mission.
Thank you,
Thank you, Superintendent Nigrelli. And those are great reminders that as much as you want to think they are not, our first responders, our law enforcement teams are not invincible to the weather. They also sometimes succumb, and we've had police vehicles in the city, fire trucks, literally stuck in snow, ambulances stuck where you cannot liberate them in order to respond to emergency calls. And so to all the members that we're speaking of who are on the front lines of this battle, I'm grateful that you're willing to put yourself out there, because you don't always make it to where you need to go. You can get stuck, you can get stranded as well. We've had to have some rescues of our own teams as they tried so hard to bring in all the reinforcements from some outside the area. So that has delayed where we'd rather be right now, but we do see an end in sight. As painful as this has been, I'm so in awe of how Western New Yorkers really came together, followed the directions, stayed off the roads as best they could, are hunkering down at great sacrifice themselves. And so I know many of them were distracted with a football game yesterday, which was good, but if you didn't have power, you'll definitely want to see the replays. But with that, I think we're ready to open up to any questions.
Thank you, Governor. We're now going to begin the Q&A portion of this event. Reporters, please use the raise hand function on Zoom to indicate you have a question. We're going to take a couple seconds to allow folks to raise their hands, and we'll begin the questions shortly. Okay, our first question is going to be from Dominic Lavallo from Spectrum News. Unmute your line.
Morning, Governor. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Dominic.
Morning. Merry Christmas to you and all the officials. So we have, obviously, a lot of people still stuck in their homes and they're cold. And in the coming days, we heard the one official talk about how people can start getting out of their homes and slowly shoveling and snow plowing. But with elderly houses and people, is there any way for them to contact city officials, state officials to help clear streets as well? I know we're trying to plow through areas, but there's also stuck vehicles everywhere. Is there a plan in place to start removing those vehicles and putting them somewhere in the city of Buffalo or Western New York? And is there a way for people to contact state officials to mark, hey, I might not be in this vehicle, but at some point we need to get this vehicle out of the street so more officials can get around the city?
Yes, of course. And this is where we coordinate with the local partners. The county itself has a hotline, 858-SNOW. So people are calling that. Superintendent Nigrelli and Commissioner Dominguez, any other reports on how, again, the challenge is removing the vehicles that are creating the barrier to us to get to people who need the assistance. And we have tried, with our own resources to identify the most in need areas where the roads are impassable to start clearing those. But Superintendent Nigrelli or Commissioner Dominguez, I don't know that Commissioner Bray, she's helping me get to Buffalo shortly, so I don't know if she's available.
Governor, I could answer the first part for Dominic, and then Commissioner Dominguez can touch on it as well. Part of the strike team is we're going in there is when we are encountering vehicles that are abandoned or stranded in the roadway, we are towing them to clear the roadway so the plows can get through, so our teams can get through with the utilities. So we are taking care of that. We have a plan in place working with Buffalo Police in the Erie County to move these vehicles to an off-site location. But right now, our mission is to clear the roadways, the actual driving lanes of these disabled vehicles, in which we are doing with our strike teams.
So just to follow on to what Superintendent Nigrelli stated, the strike teams are composed of a plow towing capability as well as law enforcement, state police, to cover all aspects in case we come across a driver or a vehicle that needs to be towed. So we're looking at the main arteries right now and getting those cleared, including the 33. And then we have operational assessment going on right now for all the roadways across the state, across the city of Buffalo, and we'll be taking them through that mission. And where we have vehicles that need to be removed, our approach will be as Superintendent Negrelli described, which is the strike force approach, so that we can go in, get vehicles removed, and get our roadways cleared as soon as possible, and make sure we're addressing any drivers that we may find along the way here.
The other thing we're also doing is having wellness calls. We have lists in different towns, and I thank the towns for gathering these lists of individuals who have vulnerabilities, whether it's age or disability, and they're receiving phone calls. We're coordinating with social services agencies locally to make sure that someone at least reaches out to them, and if they're in a desperate situation, they would certainly move up on the list of response to. But if that's not the case, you know, as the commissioner said, it's the main arteries we have to clear first. The access to the hospitals is key to us, so ambulances can get back on track and be free to be able to respond to calls where it will make a difference whether or not they get there. So that is the priority, as well as the access to the utilities, where these substations are. And this is a source of great frustration because we have enough people to get the power back on, except when we finally get through, after great struggle and hardship, to actually get to the substation, then you find out that there's damage done and it cannot go on without some repairs, and you have to go find the people to come back and do the repairs. That is a process. So I would have to say our priorities are the main arteries, access to the substations, get the power back on, and then we'll be certainly helping clear the roads in the secondary areas as well.
Thank you, Governor. Our next question is coming from Mark Summer at the Buffalo News. Mark, please unmute yourself.
Good morning, Governor. I'm picking up on an earlier question. Because of the uniqueness of this storm with these huge snow drifts, a lot of people are waking up to discover, because they haven't tried to go outside, that they have walls of snow 3, 4, 5 feet in front of their door, going all the way out, you know, extending to the street. Has anyone thought about how could there be assistance for people who are going to need help getting out of their houses at some point?
This is a real problem. I've lived through it, Mark. I remember in Hamburg seeing walls in 3 or 4 feet would have been a small wall. It is 6, 7 feet high. When the plows come through and move it on top of existing drifts, and we actually saw this 5 weeks ago during the November 18th storm, that you simply cannot there's no visibility. Even if you can get down your street, you cannot see making a turn onto a major road, whether or not there's another vehicle coming or not. So it is a real barrier. And those are a challenge, as well as seniors having to shovel their driveways. So I know not just the city of Buffalo, but Western New York is a region of good neighbors, and people are looking out for each other. We encourage that. But I've also said, once our National Guard have committed their first mission, which again, it's the safety of getting people to hospitals and medical appointments. We want to make sure we prevent any loss of life because of access. And I know we've already lost a few individuals because the ambulances could not get to them when the ambulances are stuck. So that'll continue to be our priority, but we're absolutely already talking about, you know, just the people who will it'll take days for them to be able to shovel out the snow. We're not going to have a warming trend, which sometimes helps abate the situation where you can get a heavy snow, but then the sun comes out and the temperatures rise and you get a little bit of melting, although we have to watch out for flooding in those circumstances when that happens. So we've been through that as well. But your point is well taken, that we're aware that those are vulnerable populations, especially our elderly, and that's why the wellness checks, we can find out what their status is, not just in their home, but will they need help outside as well.
Thank you, Governor. We have time for one more question. This one's going to be coming from Ed Drant from WKBW. Ed, please unmute yourself. Your line is open.
Governor, good morning. Thank you for taking time on Christmas to answer all of our questions. I have a couple of questions. Primarily is about the airport. Tomorrow it's supposed to open at 11 o'clock in the morning, but with all of these routes closed, the 90, the 190, the 400, the 219, what have your conversations been with the NFTA about reopening and then perhaps the influx of people on the road?
Well, that is exactly a challenge, and those who had to delay their holiday travel today and Friday and Saturday will certainly be trying to get in or get out on Monday. We're aware of that, but you hit on something that's also important. Those roads have to be clear. We don't want to go through another day of having to rescue people from vehicles that got stuck in the snow, get stranded themselves, or else they abandon their vehicles. So this is something we'll reassess. We'll have a chance, we have a time now to be able to make the proper determination as to whether or not the roads are safe, and certainly the driving ban would have to be lifted, or else there's no reason to have the airport open at that time if people are prohibited from being on the road. So that is something that's evolving through the day, and we're keeping a close eye on it. In fact, I'll be doing a visual inspection of that area later today.
Also, Governor, I just wanted to clarify, when was the National Guard actually mobilized to come to Western New York?
They were called out, I believe, Friday. We had a team coming down from Niagara Falls, and they got stuck. That's as I mentioned all along. We have a problem where we have people ready to come in, and they were stuck in certain areas. We had to dig them out and get them out in order for them to be able to get to the Buffalo Armory. As you know, the Buffalo Armory is where all of our equipment is situated in one of the hardest hit areas. So even to get them to that place, to get the vehicles to get out, has been a challenge. So they have been coming in. We have some more coming in from Syracuse. We had some from Rochester. So the closer areas were able to break in, but they were called out very quickly in this process. Almost immediately. We know not Thursday, but I would say Friday, and they started arriving Friday night and Saturday.
Thank you, Governor. That was our final question. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Have a very Merry Christmas. Stay safe and stay warm. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody. Merry Christmas.